All right, hey everyone, Coach Jeffrey here. And today, what we're going to talk about are four critical tips, four strategies, four mindset pieces that are critical for those of you out there that are self-promoting as a coach. I've been in this coaching game for 2 decades now, and I remember when I was starting out, and I want to take you back to some of those early years, but there's a progression here, so stay with me, right? So, the very first tip that you need to understand is you've got to start calling yourself a coach. Now, this doesn't sound like rocket science, but there's a subtlety here. And I remember when I was in my coach's trainings, we were on conference calls and we were doing our role plays and we were exercising dialogues and techniques and we were in it immersively. And I remember the first time that I got to step up and be the coach in a role play scenario. And it was somebody, it was the leader of the call that said, "All right, Coach Jeffrey, you're up." And I was waiting. I'm like, oh my God, they're talking about me. I'm Coach Jeff. And it was like the first shock that somebody else was identifying me as a coach, calling me as a coach, putting that label on me. I was in training, right? So I didn't see myself as a coach yet. I'm like, my mindset was I'm learning how to coach. But even before I was certified or I graduated or I'd even gotten any coaching clients or gotten any revenue as a coach, it was critical that I started to call myself a coach. We've all heard it said that if you don't love yourself, who else is going to love you? So you've got to start this journey by embracing the identity of and as a coach. It's a special memory of that shock when I was referred to that way. But all these years later, the way that it translates is very often as coaches, we're going to be working with clients that have done more than us, that make more money than we do, that have more cars, better clothes, go on better vacation, whatever, right? And so it's very interesting when you stick to your guns and you know who you are, you know the role that you play in the person's life, you've embraced the identity. And, I want to give a shout out. I guess, I don't know if I'll mention by name, but one of my very favorite and best clients has been with me for years. He's got hotels, he's got businesses. I think he and his wife have started the 13th, 14th business. I've been lucky enough to coach across the businesses and help him in a number of ways. But I look up to this person in so many ways. I mean, in terms of what he's achieved, the amount of income he earns, the amount of mouths that he feeds, the amount of money that he raises for charity. There's so many ways that I look up to this person. And he says, Coach Jeff. Coach Jeffrey. He always introduces me to other people as Coach Jeff. And so it's just more of a bookend piece. It starts with that very first moment that we call ourselves a coach, but we want to stick to that our guns, that identity, not be off put or second guess or dilute in any way that role that we play in somebody's lives, no matter how much more they've done in their lives than we have per se. So that's tip number one. You have to call yourself a coach. You have to start by calling yourself a coach. You have to embrace that identity. Here's where it gets a little bit more fun as far as I'm concerned. Tip number two is only call yourself a coach when, like, once you get past the, all right, I've got the identity of it, then you have to graduate or evolve or mature or grow into the mindset of only call yourself a coach when three different times to only call yourself a coach when. Number one is when you are looking for a coach yourself. Like calling a cab, right? Calling yourself a coach. Like, hey, I need a coach for myself. You understand what I'm getting at here? We're moving past the embracing the identity of as a coach and then moving towards we have to be aware of how this sounds out there in the world. So the other time that you want to talk to a coach or call yourself a coach is when you're talking to another coach, right? Hey, if you're a coach, I'm a coach. I call myself a coach because you're a coach. You know what coaching is, right? The third time, right, is when you know that you've qualified on some level, that somebody understands coaching, they've had coaching in their life, they want to know more about your coaching, they might need coaching, they're inquiring about the type of coaching that you do. There's some understanding there that paves the road for this to be interesting to them that you're a coach. They show interest, they demonstrate interest, etc. Those are the three, and I would reorder them, by the way. First of all, when you're talking to another coach, okay, go ahead and call yourself a coach. Two, when you're talking to somebody that understands coaching, needs coaching, has asked you about your coaching, wants to learn more about coaching, okay, call yourself a coach. But beyond that, third time is when you're calling yourself a coach. Like, hey, I need a coach for myself. By the way, surgeons can't operate on themselves. Coaches can't coach themselves. So all coaches need coaches, right? So beyond the humor, right, we want to avoid here the curse of knowledge, right? The curse of knowledge is when we are so familiar with something that we have forgotten what it's like not to know. And a lot of times, if we're calling ourselves a coach, it's because in our head, we know exactly what that means because we went through the training and we're in the trenches and we've watched the recordings and we've done the role plays and we've done the exercise and we've looked within and we've transformed it. That's our experience. But we forget what it's like not to know those things. So sometimes we'll forget that we're communicating all of that into somebody that's not interested, doesn't care, but also can't relate. Because the second piece of this is that if we're using our jargon, right? If we're using the same terms that we learned in our coaches training, if we're using the same terms of the dialogues, the techniques, the outcomes, the results, we may be speaking way over somebody's head. So I'm here to tell you that if telling somebody who is not interested that you're a coach is bad, doing it with jargon is worse. So to reset, tip number one, you have to start calling yourself a coach and really own and embrace that identity. Often well before you've ever made any money as a coach or gotten even a coaching client, you got to start somewhere and break through that mental barrier. But then as soon as possible thereafter, you have to get comfortable only calling yourself a coach when you're talking to another coach, when you're talking to somebody that's qualified to be interested in coaching, or when you're calling yourself a coach for yourself. I know that I'm being repetitive, but that's really important. Third mindset piece here. Ready? Don't just call yourself a coach, right? If you're going to call yourself a coach, never just call yourself a coach. First of all, on the word just. I believe very strongly, and I want to kind of get this right in Kluby snack form if I can. Kluby snacks are my bite-sized and motivational quotes. And the idea is this. When it comes to the word just, I want to get this accurate. So hear me out. When we're talking about the linguistics of just the word just, when people put the word just in front of something, it's a sign of weakness at best, minimization most probably, and flat out lying at worst. I mean, can you hear the voice message that somebody leaves in your, I mean, if people even leave voice messages anymore, but it goes a little something like this, right? Hi, Jeff. This is John Doe from ABC, and I'm just calling to see how you are doing. So give me a call back at your convenience, right? So first of all, if that is really what you're calling for, then say it without the just. I'm calling to see how you're doing. Do you see how different that sounds than I'm just calling to see how you're doing? So why do people put the just in there? I mean, I've done it when I'm afraid of bothering someone or hiding my true motive or avoiding responsibility for my actions. Like I was just trying to help. If you were firmly and solely trying to help, there would be no just about it. I hope you understand what I'm getting at here. So, I wanted to take the time to get that right. So beware of any use of the word just, and certainly in the context of calling yourself a coach, right? Make sure you never are calling yourself just a coach, right? The second reason is we're always more. We are never just a coach. And even if you're saying to yourself right now, well, no, I just want to offer coaching. That's all I want to do. I just want to be a coach. Still, hear me out. You were something before you became a coach, and most often coaches grow into authors. They grow into speakers, or they build coaching businesses or practices. So they become owners, CEOs, entrepreneurs. They become content creators, storytellers. There's so many other identities that marry and attach to coaching. First of all, how we got into coaching in the first place. I'm a retired corporate executive, and now I'm a CEO coach, right? Or what we grow into from coaching. So before and after, we will always be, and during, right? We will always be more than a coach. We're bringing professional equity into the game, and the focus on coaching is going to grow us into more professional equity that adds layers to our identity. So never minimize how important coaching is with the word just. Never dilute your communication with the word just. If you have decided that you're just going to be a coach, get the word just out of it and say I'm a coach. But the other part of it is that coaching, like any industry, real estate, law, etc., there's people that do good and there's people that do bad. It gets watered down, it gets competitive. There's a lot of mediocre or worse stuff out there. And coaching's no different than any other profession, right? There's a lot of great car salesmen, but we all know that car salesmen get a bad rap, right? Same thing with coaching. Okay. So what I want you to understand is if that not the word just, but if the only word you're using when calling yourself a coach is coach, that's going to be a problem too. So qualify. What kind of coach are you, right? Because if you just say coach, you're leaving it up to somebody's perception to evaluate you based on whatever they've heard in the marketplace, whatever they've heard from their colleagues, friends, etc., about what a coach is. Remember, curse of knowledge. Most people don't know how to describe coaching the way that you do, the way that I do. So I would make sure that you've got a qualifier. I'm an accountability coach. I'm a business communication coach. I'm a branding coach. I'm a speaker's coach. I'm a soft skill coach. I'm a learning and development coach. I'm an executive coach. I hope you're tracking. So number one, eliminate the word just. Never dilute yourself on anything. Be straight, true, and honest about what you're doing at all times. Number two, put some sort of qualifier. Let the world know what kind of coaching you do so that you're getting closer to speaking into their listening, and then you're not victimized by whatever perceptions about just coaching exist in the marketplace, and you're on your way. And remember, you were something before you were a coach, and in the process of coaching, you can never just be a coach. You also have to be a marketer. You also have to account for your business. You have to be a product and service developer. You have to, right? You got to be an entrepreneur, or you got to be an investor, or there's so many other things that you're growing into. So understand all the layers of identity and keep that in mind, because we're talking about self-promotion. And when you're self-promoting, or when you're practice promoting, or when you're promoting your business, you're not just promoting the fact that you know how to coach. There's so many other opportunities that you have to speak into the listening of the marketplace rather than just coming from your autobiographical ego defense. So never just call yourself a coach. Never use the word just if you can avoid it in anything that you do, etc. Finally, the fourth tip here when it comes to mindset and perspectives on self-promotion when you're getting started in your coaching business, and even for those of you that have been coaching for 5, 10 years, it's still helpful to be aware of these tips, right? So stop. Stop calling yourself a coach. It sounds funny, but we started with start calling yourself a coach. Then we moved on to only call yourself a coach when, then don't just call yourself a coach, which really transitions us into this fourth tip. Stop calling yourself a coach. If you really want to solve somebody's problem, you have to have a number of different ways to help them solve that problem. A friend and a colleague, and to some degree, a mentor of mine once told me that if you're just selling protein powder to somebody, then all you're trying to do is make money. But if you really want to help somebody get lean and get fit, then you want to have more than protein powder available. You want to have the shake, or, like the shaker cup, or you want to have the meal plan, or you want to have the exercise plan, or maybe you want to have a joint venture with a gym or other nutritionist or a physiologist, or you want to have as much available to your prospects and clients as possible that will really help them get what they want, that will really help them. So if you call yourself a coach, then you're limiting yourself. You're almost communicating that the only thing on your menu is a coach. And I'm here to tell you, and I may elaborate on this in another video when we get to accountabilities on an org chart of practice building, but if you really want to solve people's problems, you need to put other things onto your menu. I'm going to give you an example in my experience. And I started as just a coach. That was the only thing I was selling. But then I realized, oh my God, I could do soft skills training. I could train somebody how to be a coach, or I could train somebody on public speaking, or I could train somebody on assertiveness and self-confidence. So coaching is different than training. So, okay, well, then I realized, well, I could produce work for a client. I might be doing an assessment or an analysis or writing position descriptions or helping draft the business. If I have a deliverable to deliver to a client, I'm not coaching, I'm consulting. Like, wait a second, what's going on here? Am I a coach? Am I a trainer? Am I a consultant? Or what if they hire me to speak? am not a speaker. So what's going on here? If I just call myself a coach, I take all of those other opportunities to solve the problem off the table, out of the mind of the prospect. So I've played around with in my own career, and I help others with this, and it's always an ongoing jam. But the idea is, what am I really? I'm a soft skills guy. Soft skills for strong leaders, soft skills for strong teams, soft skills for strong organizations. And you can see I play the integrity game. So the integrity game is a 10-point model that allows me to deliver soft skills for strong leaders. Aha. Well, I can do that through coaching, through training, through consulting, or through info products, including speaker for hire and so forth. So I'm trying to kind of elevate the understanding, my own and the marketplace's understanding of the menu of my offerings. I'm a problem solver. If the problem is communication skills, if the problem is soft skills, if the problem is presentation skills or emotional intelligence or how to conduct a performance review or how to optimize strategic staffing and reduce cost per hire and increase engagement, or how to train the trainer or be a likable boss, or you guys see what I'm getting at. These are all soft skills titles. This is all the content that I bring to the coaching relationship, but maybe it's not coaching, maybe it's training, maybe it's consulting, maybe it's customizing curriculum. I want to grow in my ability to solve problems for my clients and their companies. And if I only call myself a coach, especially if I just call myself a coach, even worse if I say I'm just a coach, then I'm ruining my ability to really communicate that I'm a problem solver in the ways that people need their problems solved. And moreover, helping people understand what the hell a coach really does, right? And so it starts off being a very huge part of our identity. There's these breakthrough moments that occur when we're stepping into this. There's ego defense, there's imposter syndrome, there's all of that. But that pain is mandatory, but suffering's optional. Grow past it as soon as you can, and only call yourself a coach when you're talking to other coaches or people that are interested in coaching. Never just call yourself a coach or call yourself just a coach, and ultimately grow that menu of offerings, grow your ability to solve problems in such a way that you stop calling yourself a coach. Coaching is just one of the things on your menu. But what I really am is I'm the founder and author of the Integrity Game, and I solve soft skills problems in your organizations. All right, everyone, this is Coach Jeffrey with 4 tips on self-promoting as a coach. We'll see you on the next installment of Clue Tips. Wait. Don't forget to click below. Right? Click below if you want 2 complimentary coaching sessions with myself or an Integrity Game certified coach. Click below. And if you want to get the book, Get a Clue in 52 for coaches that have these 4 tips and 48 more, go ahead and click below and find a way to let us know who you are and how we can help you on your coaching journey.